So hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of PAR Meets the Artist. Already know what it is. My name is Pali. This is Power S Radio. And we showcase artists from all over the world, bringing sweet, sweet music to you, pleasant listeners. And today, if I can just get my guests, get you to please introduce yourself, tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and we know you're an artist, but tell us what you do, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pali. Hello, everyone. I am Arius Hoyle. My artist name is Air Jazz, and I am a hip-hop recording artist hailing here from Juneau, Alaska. I am part of an Alaska Native culture known as the Tlingit, and I sonically manifest my people through hip-hop music, and I've collabed with many Alaskan artists over the years.
Perfect. That's great. And I think we will start from the main point. So air jazz, first I'm like air jazz sounds like airwalk. The trainers or so tell us the inspiration behind that name, please.
Yes, absolutely. The name has two meanings. For one, it is an abbreviation of my first and middle name, Arius Jazzer. So I shortened Arius Jazzer and condensed it down to Air Jazz. And it just so happened to sonically manifest what I go for through hip hop music. I try to incorporate both jazzy and airy samples along with indigenous music intertwined with my rap and intertwined with my instrumentals. So I try to make this sonic vision that adds up to my name as well.
Wow, that is really, really cool. There's something about like airiness and jazziness equals happiness. I'm like, oh, I like that a lot.
Indeed. Airiness, jazziness. Perfect balance.
And how long have you been in the music industry?
Quite a long time. I officially started making music when I was 14, and that was my first year of high school. So now that I'm 23, it's been almost a decade.
Oh, wow, that's a long time. That's a long time. And what drew you into music? Do you have family in music or the background, or what drew you into it?
That I do. I have a father who's a singer-songwriter and he plays guitar. I have two older brothers who are producers, and one of my older brothers, he actually makes music as well, and he's more of a indie singer. So very musical family.
Oh, nice, nice, nice. That's perfect. So it was an encouragement right from you. So that's really good. Not everybody gets lucky, you know.
Yeah.
And okay, we talk about being lucky. You born into music industry, but not everybody has the talent or actually know they should pursue it. What got you to thinking, okay, well, it's music I want to do out of everything else. Music is it is.
Yeah, I noticed through watching my brothers over the years, especially my older brother Silas, who I grew up with, when he was on stage at a concert in front of all of these people performing some rap songs, it really was innovative and inspiring for a lot of the youth. And I noticed that it drew in a bunch of people, some of whom aren't even friends with each other. The music found a way to unify everyone. And I do think that it is a particular medium that has that ability. So that's why I've always loved music.
Oh, absolutely. You hit the nail right on the head. Music is a unifier. On Power S Radio, our tagline is unity through music. It says we're global, unity through music, because it breaks all boundaries. It doesn't matter where you're from. And now with the digital world, it makes it even easier for us to get music from literally all over the world. It's beautiful. But
Yeah.
let's get back into your music. So you've done quite a lot of tracks. Out of all these tracks, which one would you say, yes, this is my favorite?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I'd say a song of mine that I think has just a perfect balance of sonic vision is my song titled Dreamcatcher. And in this song, Dreamcatcher, I have just these combinations of ukulele samples, some heavy 808 bass, a little bit of Tlingit language thrown in there melodically, and then I have some English choruses to complement it. And it just is this great fusion that manifests my people through sound.
Wow, that is really, really cool. But yeah, I've had to listen to a few of your tracks, and they're all very, they're different.
Mhm.
Every single one of them have a little input into it. So that's really, really beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
And okay, so you've done all these different tracks. You've chosen your favorite one. What are your like who I know you said your brother, especially Silas.
Mhm.
But which artists did you grow up listening to? Because you have lots of different, we're talking about hip hop and jazz, okay? There's
Mhm.
urban, but what artists do you listen to think, yeah, this is the genre I want to pick?
Yeah, the artist who really did that for me was actually a producer, Nujabes or Nujabes. He was a hip hop producer from Japan who actually did soundtrack for a lot of anime and a lot of soundtracks for other stuff. And he was this really talented lo-fi hip hop producer who would combine like airy flute samples and saxophones and combine them with jazzy pianos, and he put them over these classic hip hop drums. And so it was people like him, and of course some classic rappers as well, such as Nas and the Wu-Tang Clan, who I know were always keen on those lo-fi jazz samples, and that was really inspiring.
Absolutely, that's really, really cool. And kind of stepping on from there, I'm just going to throw this there right now. That if out of maybe just the artists you've mentioned or the ones that you haven't mentioned, but dead or alive, if you could collaborate with any artist or band, who would it be and why?
That's another fantastic question. I think if there's one person who is so versatile, even though he's no longer around, who I would love to work with, it would be Tupac, because I think that guy was such a deep personal feels storyteller that could reach out to a lot of people. And he just seems like he would be the most Godfather type rapper to work with, because there's some real soul behind Tupac. And I think that all of the West Coast feels that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that resound probably across the world. They
Mhm.
had a message to deliver and they delivered it beautifully. And it's not just not just listening to music. You're actually, it might as well be a pastor,
Mhm.
preaching and you get a message from him. It's a great choice. I know it's not allowed, it's not alive, but hey, there are a lot of tracks still being made, so you
Oh,
just
for
never
sure.
know.
There will be some heavenly mixtapes going on.
And kind of let's go into so some of your tracks. You did a track with so there's one called Tomahawk. Is it
Mhm.
Tomahawk? And
Yeah,
that's
Uncle
featuring
Tomahawk.
Killah Priest. Um, Killah Priest is a big artist. So how did that collaboration come by?
Yeah, that was a super honorable moment having Killah Priest there on a project with all of us. It all started back in 2018 when he visited Alaska for the first time. And he got in contact with my good promotion friend, Lance Mitchell, who has been putting on me and many other Alaskan artists for years. And it's thanks to that connection that Killah Priest got to perform with me and my good friend Radiophonic, Chris Talley, for years. And after this friendship and this brotherhood started to build, he finally decided he'd be willing to work with us. And that's when Lance Mitchell arranged this collaborative project known as Alaska Borealis that dropped just earlier this year. And I got to do that song, Uncle Tomahawk. It was an honor.
That's nice. A beautiful, beautiful track. And what's the inspiration behind it? Because even the title, I'm like, Tomahawk.
Yeah, it's supposed to be kind of an interesting pun that has a metaphor behind it. So Uncle Tom, when you hear the phrase Uncle Tom, you think of like an obedient African American who gives off more of like a white gentrified type of persona. Meanwhile, Uncle Tomahawk would be the native answer to that. and that is Afro-Indigenous artists who share both Black and Native culture, and they stand with sovereignty for the Native people.
Wow, that is really, really cool. So it's different than my thought. I like that.
Yeah.
like
Well,
like the I like the twist to it. So so that track came out it's very new, right? About a month
yeah.
or
This project dropped maybe just a month ago, and we just recorded it a few months back. Mhm.
mm, wow. And so you've released it, and how do you feel like the general public are perceiving it?
I think they're feeling it, definitely. It got shared a lot around here in the Alaska hub, and that was really cool that it was over in Anchorage. That's the town.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so is this Tomahawk, is that part of a album or is that just getting released as a single?
Yeah, that one was part of the project, so it was just released alongside the others. I got to do 2 tracks with Killah Priest on there, actually. It was
Mm.
super fun.
Because I was going to touch on so there's another one called, is it called Return to the Ship?
Mhm.
Um, and so that one, obviously I'm like Return to the Ship. What
Mhm.
is it? I really want to know what is the background. What are we talking about? A metaphorical ship? Are we talking about a real ship? Are we talking about back in the days? Are we talking about slavery? What is this about?
Oh, yes. That is what is, fascinating, is Return to Ship was off of an album I dropped just, 2 years back, and it's off of my, Extraterrestrial tape, where I'm playing this alien individual who has come down to Earth and has been observing the life here. And then Return to Ship is essentially like the aliens gathered enough research about humanity to take this spiritual experience he had with them back to his own civilization.
Ooh, that is really, really cool. And I got to now go into this next question.
Mhm.
Where do you get all this inspiration from? Like it's not something that you just obviously come across. You go artists that write about the day, artists that write about money, especially hip hop artists, about money, write about the women, write about hardcore lifestyle. But yours is different.
Mhm.
Where do you get inspiration for all of this?
Yeah. There's one artist who I think also helped open me up to more interesting song topics and more unique storytelling. It's Kid Cudi. There are always those various artists like Kid Cudi where they approach a very unique story and aesthetic to their music, and it helps give them a lot of identity and personality. And I think that that's always really cool when artists such as both Tupac and Kid Cudi can just tell you such a huge narrative that only they themselves could ever experience. And it helps bring you into their own world and their own mentality. And so that's why I always try to go for unique songs and sounds.
That is beautiful. Because originally, when I started listening to hip hop, that was what it's about. You listen to the lyrics and it's like somebody's telling you a story. It's like,
Mhm.
I went from, somebody reading you a bedtime story to then you listening to hip hop falling asleep to it. Like, that was what
Yeah.
hip hop. And then to kind of this new age where you're like, I don't really understand what you're saying, or I have got to the end of the music, but I've gained nothing.
Mhm.
So no, kudos to you. That is really, really beautiful. You narrate your story perfectly and bring us into your world. I like that. Thank you.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. Sonic Vision.
And let me kind of ask my next random question.
Mhm.
That if let's say you're like you have this superpower and you could listen in to any room in the world. Could be maybe the president's room, it could be, I don't know, maybe even one of your favorite band. You could go back in the past and just go and listen to that particular show. What room will you tune into and why?
Oh, that's a really good question. Um, Could you actually ask that one more time for me?
So apologies, sorry.
Yeah, just one more time. I'm sorry. Lance, my friend, kept calling me in the middle of our chat. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. So, like, if you had a superpower and you could listen into any room at all in the world, maybe the president's room,
Hmm.
I of England, because that's where we live, or the King of England, apologies.
Hmm.
You could listen into that room. I don't know if you can. Or you could listen into your favorite band without having to move a muscle. You just can listen in, just tune in. And you have an hour to do this. What room would you tune into and why?
Oh, I see. Yeah, if there was a room that I could just tune in and tap into and get a scoop on, I think it would be KEXP, one of my favorite radio stations of the Northwest. I know that they get to play a lot of good artists, and they're often just in rotation discussing new indigenous music as well. I would love to just be able to tune into KEXP live right there at the studio.
Oh, nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well, we
Hmm.
just never know. It might happen. Well, I suppose you can't tune in without moving a muscle, but maybe moving some muscles,
Hmm.
might be able to do that. And
Indeed.
we keep talking and going on. Let's cover these bits. I'm sure people are like, hey, where can we go and find out more about this great artist? So where can we go with it? Do you have a website,
Mhm.
YouTube, social media? What should we look for?
Yes, absolutely. You can find me under Air Jazz, same way it sounds. You can find me on my Spotify, my Apple Music. I have a YouTube channel as well with some music videos to the content. And on top of that, you'll find me on Instagram and social media under that name as well.
That's great. That's great. And so you work with a lot of different artists.
Mhm.
How do you do it? Obviously, working with people it's hard. How do you select who you work with and go through that process without, you know, not quite selling your soul, but like just going with the flow of, oh yeah, come and do this, and then you just go with it, but it's not actually in your line. How do you make sure you're still staying in your lane?
Yeah. When it comes to collaborations, I think the one thing I try to pay attention to is, do we have chemistry? I always look for various artists around Alaska and I think, how can the two of us utilize our sounds to where we belong on a track together and we make progress through music? And that's not always easy to determine. Sometimes you're going to have to work with all the artists first before you can determine which ones really have collaborative energy with you. And I think also part of it is you get to see the talents of others when they show you their work. You can hear that maybe they have an ear for really good production. Maybe they're really lyrically and sonically focused. Maybe they have fantastic flow and rhyme scheme. So I always look for ways to utilize an artist the same way they would utilize me for tools in a song to make it all sound good.
Mm, like that, like that. So you actually go into each of the process, make sure you've heard them, feel the chemistry. I think that is, as you said, that is definitely key. That both of you gel together. Um, and another kind of question, slightly off that, is how do you schedule in all of this in one day? Do for being a music artist, there's always constantly something to do.
Hmm.
So how do you schedule it in to make sure you don't burn out? And what do you do for relaxation?
Yeah. For relaxation, oftentimes since I travel back and forth to Seattle and back here to Alaska, I often just reserve maybe 3 days out of the week to just be isolated in the room and having the headphones on with the MacBook. As long as you are in your own zone for a long period of time, a few days a week, you can really hone in on your next project and you can start brainstorming a lot more once the headphones are on and you're uninterrupted by work, by emails, by random collaborations that you haven't gotten to. That's when most of the magic starts to happen. Yeah.
Mm,
And I always try to reserve some time for that every week.
that's perfect. That's perfect. So you make sure you timetable that in. I should take that advice. But hey, I just go for it.
Yep, just send it.
That's great. And let's go into this next bit. That for you, obviously, what's in the pipeline? What can we look forward to?
Next thing to look forward to will be my singles that I'll be dropping. I know that I originally wanted to drop an EP this year, but I think I've decided to postpone it to 2025. Because in the meantime, I want to start really promoting some singles and maybe even within the next month try and get a new music video going.
So there's a lot in the pipeline. We
Mm.
just need to go and check out Air Jazz and make sure we don't miss anything. Perfect. Like the sound of that. And
Indeed.
this question I love to ask because it brings in a variety of things. And your music, so we said, well, Air Jazz, it makes hip hop with jazz. If this your music that you're making, it was a dish, what dish would it be? What sort of ingredients do we have in this dish
Mm.
to make Air Jazz?
I love that question. I think a dish that would be a good metaphor for my music would be maybe like a fried rice, because in fried rice, you have this combination of elements that all add into this one beautiful scrabble, the scramble. You have the fried egg in there. You have a little side of the bacon and celery. Of course, you have the main rice with the soy sauce. And I think that all kind of adds up into my fusion of sound elements that all go into my work. You got a little bit of indigenous work, you have a little bit of lo-fi jazz from the old days, and you got some soundscapes from maybe more of an EDM type of sound, and then all of that gets spread into this hip hop vision. So definitely a fried rice kind of feel.
I like the sound of that. That actually perfectly. It's like you already thought about my answer before I even asked the question.
I'm flattered, Pally.
This,
Thank you.
this is really great. We're kind of running out of time. Is there anything that you would like to get out to the viewers that are watching you?
Mm. I say be sure to always reach out and promote whatever art you have going on. It could be that you're a great illustrator of manga and cartoons. It could be that you're getting into videography and you wanted to, test out some new video ideas with musicians. So, whatever you have to offer, any talent at all that can benefit others, I say reach out because we would all love to work with one another. And I'm as big a fan of you as you might be of other artists. So it's always an honor meeting new faces and coming up with cool stuff.
That is really, really amazing. I like that answer.
Mhm.
And kind of before I wrap up, so I have a Lance Mitchell on the line.
Mhm.
Um, so is this one of your guests?
Indeed. This is my good friend and promoter, Lance Mitchell.
Okay, so should we admit Lance in? Maybe if Lance has an input to share. I know we're kind of wrapping up.
Mhm.
But yeah, Lance is joining in. His audio is collecting, and Lance is on. Hello, Lance. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm blessed. How are you doing?
No, I'm great, thank you. So very nice to meet you. It was just talking about Jazz was just talking about meeting new people, and you're popping up on my screen. I'm like, well, hey,
I,
we've got to meet Lance. So Lance, please tell us a bit about yourself.
it's not that much to tell, you know. I've just gone in a place of my life, you know. And earlier in my life, I made some bad decisions, I guess, you know. I like to run the streets and party and hang out with the women, you know. So as I got older, I started to become more focused and more directed into music. But being that I am older, I don't think that it's kind of hard for a 54-year-old pop star to happen. So being that I've met these awesome awesome artists like Air Jazz and Radiophonic and Zanzler that are like super way talented, any way talented. You know, just wanted to put some projects together that will give them exposure. And so Killah Priest, which I met here in Juneau, you know, became a friend of mine, and we were able to get him to also be on board with that. And so that's what it's about, you know. And so that's the total honest answer that I can give you. That is my motivation, you know. All the money goes to the artists of the individual songs, you know. So it's not doing horrible. It's not doing as great as I wanted to do. They have had about 2,000 streams, which is not bad at all. But um, we're just trying to go, you know, get it played more on radio stations, indie radio stations, college radio stations, as get as much press as we can. And hence, I connected with you, Power Ace Radio. And so that's where I'm at.
Thank you so much for the connection. And thank you so much for the work you're doing, because I feel, especially more for independent artists, it's harder to get that music through because there's a lot of noise. That's the problem.
They can make music on their computer, you know, like as whereas before, you know, you had to go to a studio to record. You had to have a mixer. You had to have somebody to mix and master your stuff. But nowadays you can do it on your computer, and they have programs that mix and master and stuff like that. So with that being said, there's so many people that have the inspiration of doing music that it's just the flooded, per se, with good, and I'm not going to call them bad, but you know, so it's hard to differentiate from all of that, you know. And the only way that you can do that is by getting your music out there for people to be able to hear, and then move forward from that. And but then it's a lot more into it. You have to put that music out there. You have to get press for it. You have to get people wanting to listen to it, because you just popping it on YouTube once upon a time, you could just pop some really good quality material on YouTube and then it would go viral. It's not that easy anymore. So it takes hard work of people like Air Jazz and Radiophonic and Zanzler and Phonetic and Alaska Red. And hopefully that will build something that they can use and, like, you know, start going on their path. Alaska Red and Phonetic already have an established fan base, as does Air Jazz. Radiophonic and Zanzler, I think, are a little bit starting out, so that they can use the exposure. And so that's it. In a nutshell.
No, everybody brings something to the table, and you know, as they say, little drops of water makes the ocean. So we'll pull it in from different angles, and yeah, we'll make Air Jazz the great artist that he is. So yeah, we're kind of running out of time. Is there any closing remarks from either of you to the viewers?
I just got something real quick to say. I want the viewers to listen to the music and make your own judgment. And then you like what you hear, then I want you to spread that peppy. Send it all over the UK.
Perfect.
And thank you, Power Ace Radio, for allowing us to be able to interview with you.
Yeah, big thank you, Freddie. Much love to you guys. It's an honor.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a real pleasure. So yeah, we'll be here to catch up again pretty soon. But until then, please keep making this airiness and jazziness that makes happiness music. I love it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You're traveling on the airwaves of Power Ace Radio.